Hello, hello. People are joining us second by second. We're going to wait a couple of minutes for more participants to join us. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce my amazing guest, Daria, today. Daria Marinescu, who's the CMO at Spiral, a product for building and orchestrating AI agents for business processes. And Daria is going to be talking about how to drive product growth while still searching your PMF and building your product differentiator through a very interesting educational program. Can't wait to hear more about it. In the meantime, let me introduce myself as well. I'm the VP of Marketing here at UserPilot. And for those of you who don't know, UserPilot is an AI-powered product growth platform that allows you to build in-app engagement experiences like user onboarding flows. It combines them with robust product analytics and in-app feedback and session recordings. And best of all, we now have a new product growth agent, Leah, who can do a lot of these tasks for you. So build the onboarding tours, build product reporting dashboards. Go check it out later after the session. But now let's welcome Daria on stage. And oh, just one last thing. If you guys have any questions to Daria, please plop them into the Q&A session. We will have around 10 minutes at the end of the presentation to go over them. Yeah, but now Daria, hello and welcome.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Emilia, for the introduction, and thank you for having me. And I hope the next 25 minutes will bring you valuable insights on how to tweak your GTM strategy and your product discovery in emerging tech while driving also revenue. So, a little bit about myself. I have 20 years of experience in research, in strategy, media buying, and marketing. I am the CMO of Spheral, as Emilia said, which is an agentic AI automation platform built as an operating system for mid-sized companies. So I will talk about, today I'll talk about the education program that got us revenue while we were learning how to develop the product that we had. And I will share my screen now, if it's okay. Good. So, one second. Do you see my screen? All good. Thank you. So, I want to show you how what we learned by watching more than 150 companies fail, succeed, and teach each other about how to adopt AI automation in their organizational reality. I will navigate how we got paid to discover what features actually mattered, why 36% of people quit, a context that gave us more insight than any user interview, and how adoption spreads through peer theft, and the four differentiators we built from watching companies hit massive roadblocks, and why embedded, and this is the most important, why embedded education beats customer interviews in certain contexts, of course. So this is what happened. We designed a product program that got us 80% platform adoption and 240K revenue per quarter. But more importantly, it got us four critical product features we would have never discovered through traditional customer research. But here's the part that surprised us the most. The product we thought we were building was mirroring the company's reality we were targeting. So here's the question. What do you do when the traditional playbook, like building features, explaining benefits, closing deals, doesn't fit when both sides are still figuring out how this works and how to implement it across companies? And in our case, following the traditional GTM playbook seemed like the way to go in the beginning because, implementing it made us think that it will lead to great success and great results. But at the end of the day, when we mapped the financial estimations, we realized that we couldn't go into that direction. So this is why we think that traditional GTM breaks in emerging tech. So you build the features, you think that going this direction will help you. So you build the features, you market the features, and if you're clear enough about your ICP, about benefits and pain points, your market will respond. And that usually works in mature categories, but in emerging tech, the opposite happens. Buyers don't know what to ask for, and even framing the problem perfectly and the solution to it, there is an entire ecosystem involved in this new territory. So we didn't want to take the same road to drive growth, like using founder bandwidth or sales brute force or heavy ad spend, but because that can work if you're willing to burn money while you and your market are still figuring out what you're actually selling and what they are actually buying. So for us, that was the wrong solution to our problem. We didn't have that luxury. So what happened was we decided to go to conferences and talk to as many people as possible to figure out a way to position and develop the product in a way that would lead to adoption. But every conversation went the same way. I mean, prospects were asking over and over again about the house. And even if we were talking about a specific feature mapped to a specific use case, there were still questions about a certain kind of specificity that was bigger than we have ever imagined. So we realized that if we continue this way, we will hit the wall of blank page syndrome because our prospects didn't have the mental framework for what we were presenting. So what we did was we changed the traditional approach and we said, what if education isn't just marketing? What if we can turn education into a product discovery that paid for itself? So we'd educate companies on how to adopt AI automation, and they paid us to learn while using our platform. And this way we'd observe in real time where adoption broke, and also we had a real organizational context to see that. Oh, sorry. And the reality is that you don't know what you don't know. So observing users in relationship with your product from the outside means that you will be losing on a lot of things. So in this setup, every breakdown became a product decision. So what mattered to us was building a system where every interaction, every challenge, every aha moment fed product, marketing, and business strategy. But how did we do it? We already had the conferences where we discussed with companies, and this gave us an idea of our hypothetical ICP. And what we did for the lead generation pipeline, we decided to get 60% of that specific ICP and then broaden the audience towards 40% in order to test it. And we started in the beginning with 300 qualified leads that we got through our partnership with Termene, which is the largest database of business companies in Romania. And also we used our founder visibility, and we ran every lead through qualification calls in order to ensure real commitment. Why? Because the program itself spread across 3 months and had a large hands-on component, so commitment was a big part of it. And during the program, participants built 10 automations that were mirroring their use cases. And this is how they got out from the program with a specific business output. And this is the way we tackled creating this acquisition channel, while every cohort that we had within was a product research lab. And they were paying for this kind of program. And it was mandatory for us to deliver value. So within, from this, in the first edition, from these 300 leads, we got only 20% conversion rate. Why? Because the main objection was that companies do not have time. So they said, I don't have time, 3 months is too long, and so on. And of course, 60 companies for us was enough in order to understand if the education program works, first of all, and second of all, how they navigate our product and what blockers they will encounter. But we took into consideration that this objection because it was actually justifying what we heard during the conversion, events that we were participating where everybody was saying that they don't know how to do things and how to map that to their specific organization. So that meant they didn't have the mental framing for it. So we do not have time means I don't understand how this can help me. But from edition to edition, our conversion rates improved because most of all because because of the credentials from the first edition. So our relationship with the people that participated in these editions in this program transformed from professional to very personal. We got close to them. We were very working very closely, of course, and we were able to go to them and say, okay, I need you for this specific case study. So, or I need you to post on LinkedIn that specific use case if you want to, for people to see how what happens during the education program and so on. From edition to edition, we got more awareness, and people decided to attend. And our goal was wrapped on delivering value to companies who decided to join our program, as I said. And we were teaching them the underlying concepts like databases, APIs, data flows, and those were needed for them to understand how to actually implement AI automation. But we deliberately created this structure that was based on theory and practice, because when someone hit a wall with, let's say, database connections or system integration, we'd see it happening during the practical modules. So every struggle became a product gap that we needed to cover. So the theory modules created baseline understanding, while the practical modules exposed organizational reality. While we were teaching them, we were collecting the most precise data we'd ever had on how companies adopt AI, where they get stuck, and what they value enough in order to pay for. In the first edition, we structured groups like financial by department. So financial people with financial people, operational people with operational people. And what happened was we witnessed a 36% dropout. So we started asking them what's happening, and they said that they felt isolated, they felt stuck, they being with their own peers got them into a state of intimidation, and they didn't want to hear about the same problems that they were having because they were already in that scenario. So they said they would like to hear from others, from other departments, what are their struggles and how do they tackle them, and so on and so forth. So we decided to mix departments, and so to have finance and ops and marketing in the same group, and also to create daily huddles. And the dropout fell to 12%, first of all, but adoption jumped to 80%. And more importantly, we started seeing something that we didn't expect. Adoption spreads through peer theft. What I mean by that? So in the daily huddles, you have people from specific departments presenting their workflows. And I will give you an example for you to understand what I'm going with this. Like somebody from finance presented a workflow about supplier onboarding. Then seeing that workflow, somebody from operations said, okay, we have the same problem. I would like to borrow or steal your workflow to adapt it to our processes and then use it. And they did that, and they got that, sorry, my dogs. So they got that workflow, and they went again, a few days later, they came back and said, look, we presented that inside of our company, and our financial team said, it's great, I want to adopt it, I want to use this. And we had adoption during the education program. So this is when we realized that adoption scales through observed peer success, but also if you give those people easy templates to adapt, to easy to adopt. And our product at that time didn't cover that. So what we did was to search for specific patterns of failure across cohorts, and came up with our main differentiators. We watched where adoption was blocked, and then figure out a way to solve it. And of course, we looked for repeatability. So we had managers that couldn't see what their teams were building. So no visibility meant no trust, which meant automations never made it to being used in daily routines. And another one was that teams work in silos, and that duplicated work, that duplicated agents. Like, I know procurement created an agent for invoice processing, and 3 weeks later, the financial team did the same thing. So that wasn't quite okay. And we had IT that was gatekeeping everything for security reason, which is perfectly okay and good. And there was this perception that only technical people could build complex automations. So what we did, we said, let's build a management dashboard that will answer to the first problem, where managers can see how many agents are being built, what LLMs are being used for those agents, which teams are using those agents, and which people are creating those. Then we created a company marketplace where users can share their agents within the company. And also we created a marketplace for our platform, where we are putting their use cases that are the most repeated ones for our new users to use when they onboard. And we have now the orchestrator, which is a governance layer where actually IT comes and sets up connection rules once, and then teams are building within those guardrails. Last but not least is the Creator Studio, and it's the natural language for everything AI, where people just can go and they can just prompt and get their automations. And aside from that, in the Creator Studio, also the integrations with other platforms is very easy to do for click of a button. So we wanted to create an environment where everybody can build, because that was our vision. And when we decided on these features, it wasn't only about adoption blockers, but it was also about brand values that we had, because it was very important to us to reflect that within what we build. So we have transparency, we have efficiency, we have security, and also democratization, because this is the most important thing for us. Everybody should be able to build automations across an organization. From cohort to cohort, so from edition to edition, there were some KPIs that improved massively with everything that we were deploying. All of these features, I need to mention, that are still in beta and have been tested with the cohorts from the second edition and the third edition. So we went from 23 days time to production to 4 days, and deployment rates from 40% to 80%. But here's what convinced us we found something real. On week 7, in the second edition, one of the participants, an operation manager at a logistic company, posted in our Slack channel the next message that I'll read to you. 1 second. So just realized I've built 12 automations this month. Last month, my team processed 847 invoices manually. This month, 89 manual, the rest automated, because everything runs inside the governance rules they approved in week 1. The CEO just asked me to present this to the directors of the European branches. And that's when we understood the product was the organizational adoption methodology, and the platform, the subsidiary, so a substrate. And the second thing, we realized that we had the opportunity to penetrate the European market, even though we weren't thinking about that at that moment. So we could test how other teams from Europe react to what we are offering. And this helped us a lot in the long run in terms of GTM. So we didn't only created a product discovery program, but also our own self-funding intelligence engine. Revenue from paying participants funded the learning process. And that learning process generated insights like ICP clarity, pain points, and also aha moments. And from those insights, we were able to shape product iterations, and also they validated our product roadmap. And they also created marketing assets like authentic case studies. We were able to test messages and also warm ABM pipeline. And the most importantly, in my opinion, they revealed business strategy. So we watch in real time how budget decisions actually happen. what the board needed to see in order to approve the budgets and everything, and also how to structure our own GTM. So education comes as something that happens after you've built the product. Documentation, tutorials, certification programs, all designed to help users adapt something that already exists. But in this case, we needed something different. We needed embedded education, education that happens before and during product development. And also we needed that education to generate revenue for us. And we had applied cohorts, live builds, daily huddles, where we watch companies struggle in real time. And the feedback also was direct. We observed behaviors, mapped decision chains, and watched where adoption broke. And that informed our product roadmap, our pricing model, our ICP definition, and also how we design onboarding. So the metrics that we were following were also split it, and because we weren't focused on completion rates, even though we were following that, but for us was important to see time to first value, cross-department usage patterns, and also how dropout evolved into retention. So what are the signals this is worth doing? First, success requires organizational behavior change. Teams must change the way they work. So if you have that situation, you can easily solve it with an education program. Buyers do not have the mental frameworks for the category, so you need to build new mental frameworks. So if they're still learning what problems the technology solves, an education program can be the answer. You have organizational friction, so adoption friction lives in organizational systems like bottlenecks who appear in governance, in visibility, or in change management. And most importantly, learning delivers immediate business value. Participants build working solutions during the program. So you don't need to replicate our 3-month program, of course, that's not the takeaway. What you need is to create context where you can watch organizational adoption in real time. That might be designing partner programs where you are embedded in their rollout, paid pilots structured as transformation sprints where you guide them through implementation, and office hours where you sit with users in order to watch and understand their real struggles. So the principle is simple. In emerging categories, your customers know more about how to use your product than you do, but they only discover that knowledge when they try to use it inside their actual organizational chaos, within all politics and the technical depth, the cross-department conflicts, and IT gatekeeping. So your job is to create a container where that happens and be present enough to watch where things break and why. And that observation becomes your roadmap. So thank you very much. I hope I covered everything. So I see that there is a lot of time for questions, and I'm happy for that.
This was brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you, Emilia.
Okay, so you can connect with Daria here if you scan the QR code, and also via email and presumably on LinkedIn as well. We'll be answering the questions now. I have my first question. Who came up with this program?
Okay, so we did as a team, because the idea is that we made some financial estimations and we saw that it was impossible for us to support that kind of education, not only money-wise, but also time-wise. And we said, okay, what can we do? How can we discover the ICP and everything? And yeah, we came up with this idea. In the first place, we were very reluctant if we should put a paid gateway to it, because, you know, we didn't know how people would respond. But then again, we took a leap of faith and said, okay, let's do it like this, because, you know, in the interviews that we had in those conferences, a lot of people were saying, okay, we hear about the theory, we hear the hype, but nobody tells us how we should do this in our organizational reality, because organizations have multiple processes, very complex rules, and so on. So, okay, if I take a use case or another use case or just solve it like that, it will help me just this little. So the promise of efficiency doesn't stand. And from those interviews, actually, we came up with the idea, because we realized that there is a massive need of applied learning. And yeah.
Hmm. No, that's great. I'm like blown away by this, idea of uh, gaining, product insights and feedback and being paid for it at the same time. Such a great feedback loop. We will tackle a few questions from the audience now. Guys, please keep flopping your questions. I can see we still have 96 people with us now. So first question from an anonymous attendee, did you see a connection between specific industries and the adoption rate that you got?
Yeah. Actually, yes, we saw that, and this is what actually helped us to map the ICP, because
Mm-hmm.
we saw that heavy operational industries were responding to our pitch, first of all, and second of all, those were the lists that actually we got and considered as qualified, and then the companies that joined the program. So yes, heavy operational industries were the ones that responded better and had a very big adoption rate. Yeah.
Gotcha. Um, question kind of that hinges on my question. How did you come up with the idea of the educational program?
So
Like,
yeah, I
what
mean,
is?
as I said, I mean, we designed a few ways to go, and this one stood out the most because it had revenue around it, a pre-PMF structure that would help us define what PMF looks like and if our product is ready for that, and also a relationship that we can build with companies that otherwise it would have been very hard to build in other contexts. So we had some, let's say, checkpoints that only the education program checked, and we said, okay, we go for it, we test it, and if the first edition goes well, then we invest more resources and so on in it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And where are you now with the product?
So now we are in the beta, as I said, with the features that we have, and then we want to launch them in Q1 2026, and we are during a fourth edition of the education program as well. So we are testing now different features that will be on our roadmap for the next year, and debating if we should be continuing if we should continue with the education program. But the product is still under development. We have these features in beta, and in Q1 we will be launching and go towards more aggressive communication and awareness campaigns.
Brilliant. Keeping fingers crossed, the launch goes great. I'm pretty sure the team, managed to pull this educational program off. Then, can't wait to see what you do when you come out of beta. Final question from Václav. Great presentation, first of all. How do you measure time to first value given the platform complexity and various use cases? That's a great question.
Yes, it is a great question. So we developed a KPI, like we call it Atom, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But what we said was how many AI agents were being developed and how many workflows were attached to those agents. And if a team was building enough a certain amount of agents, that means that they got value, they got time to value was fast. So we said if we have at least 1 week to value, which meant building at least 5 AI agents attached to some workflows, that means we got it, and it expands more and more because, as you said, the product is very complex. And but for us, this is it: building agents, uh, adding sources, and sharing those agents within their teams. That's
Mm.
value for us.
Great. Yeah. So basically you need to decide what is your activation point, right? Like the
Exactly.
point where
Exactly.
you know the value was derived, and then calculate how the different teams basically when they
Exactly.
reached that
We have a
point.
system that calculates it. It's a more complex KPI that takes into consideration some variables, and then depending on the percentage of that KPI, we consider a person being augmented or not, because actually this is what we are following. How much augmentation we offer to a person, like somebody from a team, but for us this is during the education program, but outside of it, we follow team augmentation. And we say if 40% of a team is augmented by using and creating AI agents and automation workflows, then it means it's working and you get clear and realistic ROI from it. That's why
Mm-hmm.
we build the ROI calculator actually, and we'll be improving it through time, because everybody was asking about ROI. So time to first value is okay, you add sources, create the agents, and this is product related. But for us, time to first value is also when they're seeing real ROI and augmentation.
Mm. Yeah, so this is, by the way, Václav and the rest of the audience here, something that User Pilot also offers. Actually, one of our default dashboards is the user activation dashboard, where you can just define that activation event. So for instance, in this case, it would be, like launching the first AI agent, or you could define the number of agentic workflows that a team would have to have built. And then User Pilot basically automatically calculates how long it took this team from sign up to the moment they met the activation conditions. And, like gives you data that are sliced and diced by however you segment your audience. So it might be industry, it might be company size, it might be user cohort. So we also do like the cohort analysis.
Exactly.
Um,
And I would like to add something here, because it's a bit different in our case, because
mhm,
you have people building agents and workflows, and it's very different when you actually are mapping a certain organizational structure. So for
mm,
us, time to first value means what after the agents are being built also means after the agents are being built and so on, the end users, are they using them? Because
mhm,
at the end of the day, a team is not only one person or two
of
people,
course.
and our goal is not to make them the whole team just to sit all day and work and creating AI agents. We don't want that. We want them to map their processes, create the agents that can help them improve efficientize their processes, and then end users, meaning the whole team, just benefiting from those flows and agents.
100%. I mean, sometimes the activation point or the state of activation is more complex.
Yes,
So it should be, in your case, for instance, the organizational wide adoption of these agents. So this is
exactly.
where, we need to define the criteria as not just like a single one-off event, but basically maybe even the frequency of the event happening and the account penetration, in that like how many users within the organization have adopted a certain feature.
Exactly.
Mm.
And what value they got from it. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, amazing. Really inspired by your presentation, Daria. I'm sure a lot of people here in the audience are as well. Do we have any last questions coming from the audience? If not, then we'll be closing this session. And you can still connect with Daria, of course, on LinkedIn with myself as well. And in less than half an hour, we're jumping into another talk about email and lifecycle marketing and connecting the dots across user journey. So join me there. Thank you again, Daria, and
Thank
we'll
you very
chat
much.
soon. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.